Section 47 of the Soul, or Rational Psychology. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Soul, or Rational Psychology, by Emanuel Swedenborg. Translated by Frank Sewall, 1837 to 1915, and others. Section 47. Chapter 30. Concerning Hell, or the Society of Unhappy Souls. 543. The society of those who live in the contrary loves, or in hatred to God and their neighbor, is called infernal, diabolical, unhappy. It exists wholly in order that there may be every variety interposed between the two, and indeed actually. For in the spiritual idea of the soul there can be no existence which is not actual, since the soul is pure intelligence, nor is it obstructed with any shades of ignorance, nor can intermediate things exist without their opposites. For their quality is only known by knowing their relations in opposition. Hence the devil actually exists, and an infernal society, or a society burning with the love of destroying the heavenly society. Without such an evil society the blessed would not be kindled with any zeal and ardor, nor would their souls burn with eager desire to protect the Church. Thus they feel their happiness increased by the existence of a life contrary to their own. 544. Into this society come all souls which hold in hatred God and the neighbor. From their principles, that is, from their love, flow forth crimes and wickedness of every sort. They are defiled with vices. They themselves suffer most deeply from their own consciences, when they behold with open eyes the truths which in this life they had endeavored to dissipate with specious arguments and sophistic reasonings. But when there is no ignorance, only a bare knowledge of truths, as after death in souls, and when the state of the soul has been already deformed, and has so drawn down that nature that it cannot return to its more beautiful state, then it cannot help suffering the most deep and intense anguish and torture. And because this suffering is spiritual and in the soul, it cannot be described in words or conceived in ideas, for it surpasses flames, the gnashing of teeth, and many other punishments of earth. It is as though they were inwardly suffering from blazing and boiling oil poured from an inexhaustible vessel. 545. That this society also should be provided with its leader and chief would seem to be undeniable, because all these souls constitute one society or hell, and without a leader one would rush upon another, like Erinyes and Furies. No higher or mutual love conjoins these souls, but only the fear of their leader or chief, to whom perhaps is given the power of torturing the subject souls as often as they do not perform their duty. And so long as it is a society, there seems to be some hope remaining of warring against heaven, and of exalting oneself to the throne. They know indeed the impossibility of this, but nevertheless a pure hatred so persuades them. Therefore, as long as they enjoy and hope, and as this grows from the increase of their numbers, they seem in some manner to be happy, not inwardly but superficially, just as the envious are inwardly pained at the misfortune of even an unknown person, not from sympathy or love, but because this reminds them of the misery that they themselves are to endure forever. 546. But nevertheless, in the last judgment, when the splendor of omnipotence, omnipresence, wisdom, justice, and divine love shall shine forth most fully, so that each one may view his previous life clearly depicted in his own state, and without the sentence being pronounced may know of what punishment he is worthy, since all things will then be manifest, although in the immediate light of wisdom. Then this society shall lose all hope, and shall contemplate in full view its eternal ruin. And while it beholds not only the kingdom of God, but also the felicity of the members of that society so completely and purely revealed, hatred becomes changed into envy, and envy into misery and anxieties. Then it is that this distracted form of society, from its own inward hatred, as though of a furious madness, rushes violently one upon another, and through the communion of souls, agreeing in their hatred toward heavenly society, but discordant among themselves, one becomes the devil tyrant of another, with all reins let loose in utter freedom, much as it is on earth, when liberty is subject to no restraint. 547. This, although the largest society, shall after the judgment cease to be a society, and although it would do so, it shall nevertheless avail nothing against the least society of heaven, for these are most closely conjoined in mutual love, yea, bound together under the divine love. But infernal souls are only united under their chief, unconnected by any mutual love, but rather disjoined in perpetual hatred, and besides separated by God the Uniter. So is the least handful of celestial souls able to put to flight a whole army of the impious, especially since these are afraid of themselves, and flee from the truth which they contemplate in themselves, and are therefore without any self-confidence. Hence one blessed soul may put to flight many thousand souls of the unhappy. 548. The ancients, both philosophers and physicists, and the pagan priests, by common consent have confirmed the doctrine of infernal sufferings. They have described their punishments, that of Tantalus and others, also Erebus, Styx, the Erinyes, the Furies. Pythagoras, Plato, and others have thought still more regarding these subjects. For by their light of nature they have seen that by no means can they be happy who have not in this life prepared for themselves a way through virtue to happiness. End of section 47.